Dear ladies and gentlemen, there's a moment in every life when fear knocks on the door. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, or how much faith you claim to have, fear will find a way to whisper in your ear. But let me remind you, just because fear shows up doesn't mean you have to let it in. Fear is a liar, fear is a thief, fear is the shadow that tries to block your light, but it has no power unless you give it permission. Some of you have been delaying your destiny because you're waiting to feel ready, but courage is not the absence of fear, it's the decision to act in spite of it. Being fearless doesn't mean you never feel afraid, it means you don't bow to fear. You don't serve fear, you don't make decisions based on fear. When God plants a dream in your spirit, He doesn't ask for your resume, He asks for your yes. He doesn't wait until you're fearless to use you. He uses you to teach you that fear was never your master. Too many people are stuck because they're listening to the wrong voice, but today is your moment to say enough. Enough hiding, enough shrinking, enough believing that your fear is bigger than your future. If you're going to rise, you must release the fear of failure, release the fear of rejection, release the fear of not being enough, because you plus faith equals unstoppable. The enemy wants to distract you with what could go wrong, but God is showing you what could go right if you step out in faith. You are not here to survive, you are here to shine, you are not here to stay small, you are here to stand tall. Fear doesn't get the final say, faith does. The world doesn't need more perfect people, it needs more fearless people. People who will speak even when their voice shakes, people who will move even when their knees are trembling, people who will believe even when the odds are stacked against them. That kind of fearlessness breaks chains, that kind of boldness shifts atmospheres, that kind of courage changes lives. So today, make a decision, be fearless. Not because you're fearless in yourself, but because you're confident in who walks with you. He has never lost a battle, and he won't start with you. 10 key points from the speech: be fearless. Fear will knock, but you don't have to answer. Courage is choosing action even when fear is present. Don't let fear delay your destiny. You don't need to feel ready to be used by God. Release the fear of failure, rejection, and inadequacy. Fear is a liar, faith tells the truth. God uses your obedience, not your perfection. Fearless living is a decision, not a personality trait. Fear is loud, but faith is louder. Tune in. You're not called to survive, you're called to shine, certainly. Here's an expanded version of **, key point 1 ** from the speech **, be fearless **, written in large length and **, without subtitle or conclusion **, in the same **, Stephen Furtick, inspired style **, fear will always come. It doesn't ask for your schedule, it doesn't wait for a convenient time. It shows up at the edge of your biggest opportunities, at the start of your boldest prayers, and at the doorway of your greatest growth. But just because fear knocks doesn't mean you're required to open the door and invite it in. You don't have to sit with it. You don't have to negotiate with it. You don't have to build your life around what scares you. Some of you have been living your whole life trying to avoid fear, as if fear is the enemy. But fear isn't the real enemy. Agreement with fear is. You've been letting fear write your story, letting fear dictate your relationships, your career moves, your calling, your creativity. You've been rehearsing the worst case scenario so often that you've stopped believing the best is even possible. But here's the truth: you don't have to answer every voice that calls your name, especially when the voice is lying. When fear says you're not enough, remember who called you. When fear says it's too risky, remember who promised to be with you. You weren't created to live in a prison of what-ifs. You were created to walk in power, love, and a sound mind. But the first step to walking in that authority is refusing to be intimidated every time fear knocks. You can acknowledge fear without obeying it. You can feel it without following it. Fear is not your compass. Fear is not your guide. Fear is not your truth. It's a signal, not a sentence. It may point out the battle, but it doesn't determine the outcome. When fear shows up, don't panic. Pay attention. It usually shows up loudest right before breakthrough. It grows strongest when you're about to step into something new. Why? Because the enemy knows that if he can paralyze you at the starting line, You'll never reach the finish line. But the good news is asterisk asterisk, he doesn't get to decide. You do. Asterisk asterisk, absolutely. Here is asterisk asterisk, key point 2 expanded asterisk asterisk, from the asterisk, be fearless, asterisk speech, in large length, and asterisk asterisk, without subtitle or conclusion, asterisk asterisk. Written in a passionate, high-impact style, inspired by Stephen Furtick. You weren't designed to blend in. You were called to stand out. But fear will always try to convince you that different is dangerous. It will whisper that if you take a step, you'll fail, that if you speak up, you'll be judged, that if you stretch your faith, you'll fall flat on your face. And so many of us live our lives shrinking, settling, playing small, not because we don't have the potential, but because we've confused safety with purpose. Let me tell you something. God didn't breathe his spirit into you just so you could survive. He put that breath in your lungs so you could asterisk live fully asterisk and asterisk lead boldly asterisk. Some of you are still standing at the edge of your dream because you're waiting for the fear to go away first. You're waiting to feel confident. You're waiting for certainty, but courage doesn't mean you don't feel fear. Courage means you've decided that what's in front of you is more important than what's trying to hold you back. Confidence is not the absence of fear. It's the asterisk decision asterisk to move forward asterisk in spite asterisk of it. If you're waiting until you feel fearless, you'll be stuck forever. But if you choose to act while your knees are still shaking, you're already winning the battle. Here's the real test. Will you trust the calling more than the comfort? Will you lean into obedience more than the opinion of people? Because the longer you let fear steer the wheel, the further you drift from your destiny. It's not about being reckless. It's about being asterisk rooted asterisk in a God who never called anyone to play it safe. Think about it. Every miracle started with a risk. Every breakthrough required a step of faith. Every testimony began with a moment of trembling obedience. You don't have to wait until you feel ready. You just have to believe that God is ready asterisk through you asterisk. Stop letting fear rob you of moments that were meant to define you. Stop waiting for perfect conditions to step into what you already know you're called to do. You're equipped, you're chosen, you're backed by heaven. And when you believe that, truly believe that, you'll begin to realize fear doesn't have to leave before you move. It just has to lose its power to stop you. Absolutely. Here is asterisk asterisk, key point 3, expanded asterisk asterisk from the asterisk be fearless asterisk message, written in a large, passionate, faith-filled tone, without a subtitle or conclusion, and in the style inspired by Stephen Furtick. You don't need to have all the answers to take the next step. That's one of the biggest lies fear wants you to believe, that until you can see the full map, you shouldn't move. But let me ask you something. When has God ever shown the whole plan before he called someone forward? When he told Abraham to go, he didn't give him a destination. He gave him a direction. When he called Moses, he didn't wait until Moses felt eloquent. He used the stutter. When Jesus told Peter to step out of the boat, he didn't calm the storm first. And maybe that's your story too. You're standing in the boat, staring at the waves, waiting for things to make sense, but the invitation to walk on water has already been given. See, God never promised clarity. He promised his presence. He never guaranteed control. He promised that his grace would be enough, and we've got it backward. We want confirmation and then we'll obey. But heaven's order is always the opposite. Obedience brings revelation. The step comes before the sign, the risk comes before the reward, the yes comes before the details, and that's where courage is born. Not in knowing how it will all turn out, but in trusting the one who holds the outcome. So many people are paralyzed because they can't see 5 steps ahead. But what if the next step is the only one you need? What if faith doesn't need a bloop, and only a heartbeat that says, I trust you, even when I can't trace you? What if the breakthrough you're praying for is waiting on the other side of a decision you've been too afraid to make? And what if the fear you feel is actually confirmation that you're getting closer to something powerful? Don't let the unknown stop you from walking into the unforgettable. God doesn't need you to see the finish line. He just needs your feet to move. The path doesn't get lit until you take the step. The door doesn't open until you knock. The fear doesn't fade until you walk by faith. So stop waiting on certainty and start walking with confidence, not in your plan, but in God's power. That's where real courage is formed. That's where fearless begins. Certainly, here's the ** expanded key point 4 * from the message * a be fearless *, written in a bold, emotionally charged style inspired by Stephen Furtick. Without a subtitle and without a conclusion, fear doesn't always scream, sometimes it whispers. It shows up in the background of your thoughts, disguised as logic, pretending to be caution. It convinces you that playing small is wisdom and staying silent is humility. But deep down you know it's not wisdom, it's worry. It's not humility, it's hesitation. And the longer you let those whispers go unchecked, the more you begin to shape your life around them. You start turning down opportunities because now's not the right time. You delay that conversation because you don't want conflict. You shrink your vision because you're just being realistic. But the truth is, fear has been writing your script, and God didn't give fear the pen. God didn't create you to tiptoe through life hoping nothing goes wrong. He created you to walk boldly even when things don't go right. He didn't call you to survive quietly. He called you to live courageously. But fear will always try to keep you hidden behind excuses, hidden behind insecurities, hidden behind perfectionism. And if the enemy can't destroy you, he'll try to distract you. If he can't derail you, he'll delay you with doubt. But here's the key. Fear thrives in silence and isolation. The more you internalize it, the more power it gains. That's why you've got to speak up. That's why you've got to bring your fear into the light, because fear hates exposure. The moment you declare, "I'm scared, but I'm doing it anyway," fear starts losing its grip. The moment you say, "I don't feel ready, but I trust the one who called me," you step into a new dimension of freedom. And here's the crazy thing. What you're afraid of most is probably the area where God wants to use you most. Fear doesn't attack what's meaningless. It targets what's meaningful. That's why the battlefield of fear often surrounds the breakthrough of purpose. It's not just anxiety about the future. It's spiritual resistance to your assignment. So when fear rises, instead of retreating, start rejoicing, because it's not always a sign to stop. It might be a sign you're close to something significant. Fear only has the authority you give it. It can't stop you. It can only suggest that you stop yourself. So stop bowing to fear like it's the truth. Start speaking to it like it's a liar, because it is. Fear says, "You can't." God says, "I already did." Fear says, "It's too late." God says, "I'm always on time." Fear says, "You'll fail." God says, "I'll carry you." And when you believe that, really believe it, you'll walk into rooms you used to avoid. You'll take steps you used to postpone. You'll speak when you used to stay silent, not because fear disappeared, but because you refuse to let it dictate your direction. Absolutely. Here's * key point 5 expanded * from the message * be fearless * written in a bold, passionate, and emotionally rich style inspired by Stephen Furtick. Without subtitle and conclusion, you can't conquer what you continue to cuddle. So many of us keep fear on a leash, treating it like a pet instead of a parasite. We make room for it in our thoughts, in our routines, in our decisions, like it's earned a permanent place at the table of our lives. We justify it with words like "I'm just being careful," or "I need to be realistic." But deep down, we know we're feeding fear instead of fighting it, and anything you feed will grow. Fear never stays in one corner. You think you've confined it to one area of your life, your career, your relationships, your calling, but fear doesn't respect borders. It will leak into every other part of your identity until it becomes your identity. And that's dangerous, because when fear becomes who you are, you start interpreting everything through a filter of failure. You start hearing God's promises, but you twist them into predictions of pain. You read, I have plans to prosper you, but fear translates it as, this will hurt before it gets better, so don't risk it. You hear, step out of the boat, and fear whispers, you're going to drown. But that's not who you are. You were never meant to be managed by fear. You were born with boldness in your spiritual DNA. Even if life has tried to silence it, through trauma, through betrayal, through disappointment, the boldness is still in you. The courage to rise again, the strength to speak up, the fire to try one more time, it's all in you, but you've got to stir it up. You've got to wake up the warrior within that's been buried under years of passive living. Fear will always give you a reason not to start, a reason not to speak, a reason not to trust. But here's what fear won't give you: growth, freedom, or legacy. Only faith gives you those. So at some point, you've got to ask yourself, what am I really protecting by holding on to fear? Is it your image, your safety, your comfort? Because none of those things will fulfill you if they cost you your purpose. God's calling doesn't come with a comfort guarantee. It comes with a courage requirement. And that means walking through some unknowns. That means doing things that don't make sense to people who are still living in fear. That means stepping into situations where you don't feel qualified, but knowing you're called anyway. Because if God brought you to it, fear can't stop you from walking through it unless you let it.